I've come through a number of software businesses in the translation software market, in data quality, in location intelligence, and previously and more recently in mid-market ERP technology. What about yourself?
So my journey into product marketing has been a little bit different. I started off as an end user of software, brand watch user, so if anyone knows Mercedes and the brand watch team. And because I had that understanding of a marketing user, I ended up working in a software company called Sprinkler, who are about customer experience. So started off in the solutions consultant team, and an opportunity came up to work in their field enablement. So I was looking at new hire onboarding, helping with sales kickoff and creating that sales enablement materials, which was really a lot of fun. But I was approached then by Bazaar Voice, who are in the e-commerce space, for a regional product marketing role. And I think, like many people in product marketing, you don't realize that you're doing the job until you actually find yourself there. So that was my introduction to product marketing. And today I'm at Linworks, who are an e-commerce platform who help online sellers to consolidate all their online ordering and have a lot of automation capabilities. So I was the first product marketing hire. So love talking to anybody about setting up a role, how you've built out a team. And today we're a team of 5.
Very good.
Great, so we're here to talk to you today about lessons learned from managing a global intelligence program. So to kick us off, it'd be really helpful just, Andy, how do you define competitive intelligence as a function for those who maybe don't focus on it quite as much in their day-to-day?
Sure. So as mentioned, I'm in ERP, but I'm at Epicor Software. We do very similar technology to Oracle or SAP, but for the mid-market manufacturers in manufacturing and distribution. Now, for Epicor, competitor and market intelligence fits within the product marketing organization, but it's highly targeted then at what is it that those competitors are doing, but there's also, it's broader as well, it's the market as well. And I've got some slide in a minute to kind of just break down how we build out the team, but fundamentally, we're there to help the business get insights from the data that's available from external sources, not the data that's within the business, but to try and bring those insights in and then feed that back into the business. And it's interesting because a lot of organizations I've worked at before have not had such an organized CI function. We might be lucky enough to have some market researchers, but we've not actually been that focused on the competitors, and I think that's been to the detriment in prior businesses. But Epicor's really good at tracking what's going on in the market, and I think partly because of the highly competitive nature of that ERP space.
Yeah. Great. What did that look like for you setting up that team and establishing the function?
What a great question. Let me show you. So what we did, it's interesting though, is because when I arrived at Epicor, which was around 18 months ago, our competitive and market intelligence function was really a couple of guys in our Bangalore office, in our India Technology Centre, that were very transactional. So they would take requests in from the business. They had a spreadsheet, all the projects that went into the spreadsheet. They'd get an email, they'd go and do some research, they'd feed it back, and that was pretty much it. So what we wanted to do was make it far more programmatic. So we broke it down into these sections. So, I mean, ideally, you'd have one person per area here, but we know we're not that wealthy in terms of resource. But we do all right. We are a team of 3 in India, plus myself looking after the team. So we're looking at sort of market drivers. So what are the kind of the economic drivers in business that actually make a difference to what we need? Things like a great big ship getting caught in the Suez Canal obviously makes a difference to what's going on to our customers and their customers. So we're looking at what's going on around the world. Clearly we're tracking competitors as well. And then the commercial insight will come down to when it might be maybe mergers and acquisition opportunities. We might then go and look at specific organizations and work out how that fits within our business or within our market. And then the fourth area there, this kind of sharing and project management, was an area that surprised a few people when I added that, because what we realized was there's all this insight available, but nobody's proactively sharing it within the business. So I set it up as a separate group of activities to make sure the team was aware I expect this to actually happen as part of sharing knowledge within the business. In fact, the slide deck that this comes from is called Sharing Knowledge, and that's the vision that I'm setting from the team to make sure we distribute that out. The dotted boxes here, thought leadership, win-loss automated bots, and then on the far side, sort of visualization of the data. That's more aspirational. That's where I want the team to get to. And again, it's not just about having the insights. What I want us to get to is that we're sharing that. And I feel like creative presentations and data storytelling is the next sort of phase in the evolution. So that's how we've broken it down so far.
It's so thorough seeing it laid out in all those different sections, but I was going to ask, is there a particular part of your competitive intelligence program that was a quick win, or something that has taken maybe a bit longer to deliver value as a foundation?
So I guess we were lucky in that when I arrived, we had a team of 2, and they were already supporting the ELT. And that's actually a lot of what they were doing. You know, we'd have our CPO or our head of sales in the US would say, could you go and explore this market for us? And they'd come back with, you know, a deck or some data. So we already had executive sponsorship in that regard. What wasn't happening, we weren't presenting the data in a clear way. So we immediately added a slide at the front of every presentation deck that we sent back, or research deck that we sent out, that stated what the initial ask was, who the requester was, when it was requested, when the delivery date was, and then also the planned use of insight. And we fed that back to the business to say, look, we are showing you this because you can expect us to come back in 2 weeks and ask you if you manage to actually use that as intended. So we started to put this clarity in all of the research decks that we provided back, so that, as I say, the business knew that we were bought into making sure that the research that was provided added value. The other quick thing that we did, all of the content going out, first of all, we branded the team, right? So we moved from all different names to the Competitive and Market Intelligence team, CMI, and then we actually built a logo. So there's a certification logo that we got out of our design team that says sourced from CMI, with the Epicor logo in the middle. And the intent of that is that as we continue to push out research, the business starts to understand where it's come from, and ultimately, I'll know when we've won, when they start saying, did this report come from CMI? Because they'll know there's a level of credibility that's come from that data. So yeah, that was the other one we did.
Fantastic. And then just digging more into the day-to-day, what does it look like? What kind of bill of material are you creating on a regular basis for each of these pillars?
Yeah, good question. So, as I mentioned, it was very transactional, right? And we want to move to this more programmatic model. And there are now some proactive activities that we put in place for each quarter, and we've put out a calendar and we've told the business what's going to be coming and when. So, for example, in the first column there, the market drivers and awareness, twice a year we will issue, first of all, like an initial review of the market for our core industries. So for manufacturing, for distribution and retail, an overview deck of all of the drivers, all of the trends, all of the analyst information, major competitors, and we'll put that together in one piece. Where I want to get to is not just data, but opinions as well. So I'm encouraging my team to start sharing their own perspectives, because they read tons of stuff. They're reading this stuff all day, every day, and they've always got opinions, but drawing the opinions out of them is hard. So I'm saying, let's write some stuff and put that up front in the reports. So that comes out twice a year. So it comes out once just before our annual operational planning, our AOP planning, and then we'll do it 6 months later, which is actually when the kind of the product planning's happening as well. So we've got sales planning and product planning. Competitive intelligence is a totally different animal, because actually what we're doing there, there's daily tracking, and we issue daily alerts via the Yammer channel. So as we get stuff in from Google Alerts, we might post it straight into Yammer. And then there is a monthly newsletter that wraps up all of that information and then issues out and starts pointing people back to the Yammer page. There is a bi-monthly, twice a month, every 2 months, got to put myself up there. Every 2 months we'll do a webinar, which reviews the information that's gone out in the newsletter, that's gone out in the alerts, and we invite people to that webinar. And then all of that is saved and located in a new homepage that we've set up for the business, a competitive and market intelligence homepage on SharePoint, where all of this is stored and organized. So if we miss anything, if anyone misses the newsletter, they know where they can go to get the archived records. The commercial insight is ad hoc, that's as needed. That's those we're looking to acquire a business. I mean, actually, there was an interesting one that came in around 6 months ago where our retail business was looking at the cannabis market in the US because, we sell point of sale systems, and obviously that's an exploding market, a growing market, if you like. But it's an exploding market at the moment in North America and Canada. So we were looking at whether or not that was an interesting possibility, but tons of regulation, as you might expect.
So you mentioned already that there's so many different formats that you've used. How does that feed into other teams' planning process? So you said there's annual, there's
annual
the various
planning.
different places that you have. But in terms of feeding that into things like go-to-market and other kind of content and development, I think positioning has been a really key topic today. So how do you make that actionable for further aspects of product marketing?
So that is an area of opportunity right now. I mean, as a business, we can be quite siloed. Mm-hmm. So, we are a $1 billion organisation. We have many teams that sit and do their own thing, and we are also, it gets painted as quite entrepreneurial. Everyone gets autonomy, but what that means is you're doing your own thing, and we're not that well connected and organised. So, we're trying to put in place processes now to feed that back in. And, for example, the win-loss program, which we can cover in a moment if you like, but we do an annual readout of the win-loss program, and we tend to do that at an executive leadership level and then kind of ELT -1. But then, of course, what that causes then is everyone saying, this is great stuff, my whole team needs this. So now we're doing kind of the next level of readouts, and we've got one to the entire product marketing organisation next week, and then following that will be the product management organisation. Now, this information is all available 100% of the time for anybody that wants to go to the platforms to look for it. Mm-hmm. But of course they don't. So again, it's that proactive push out of insights to try and bring them to the resources. Yeah.
And so you've talked about there's various different tools that you do use to share that information out. Are there any other tools that you use for monitoring or any kind of tips that have been really useful across any of those pillars of market intelligence?
So the win-loss program is quite interesting, and I think it's probably our best example of a platform that we use. So we actually partner with a business called Primary Intelligence in the US, who will do, and they'll make calls globally, and they do 50 to 60 qualitative interviews every year for us. And it could be wins, there could be losses, there could be across different divisions, different countries, and all of the insights are gathered together, analysed, summarised in this platform that they call True Voice. And it's fantastic. It creates battle cards for us automatically. We can go searching through all the transcripts. So if we're particularly interested in something like inventory management, we can go and search across all of those. And every call is recorded. So right now I've got something like 150 hours of win-loss calls recorded that the whole organisation can dip into. They could do a search across all of those reports to find, as I say, if it's inventory management, which I know is an area that close to your heart as well. We can search for where that came up in conversation and then listen back to the recording. What do you do?
I mean, for our win-loss program, it's really been driven by the need to really understand our market. We didn't have product marketing a couple of months ago, so it was really setting that up. So we were quite lucky to have Salesforce set up. So the first thing we do is we track on our Slack channels, and we see which deals have closed, which deals have closed and been closed won against a competitor. We go back then and spot check Jiminy, which is our conversation recording tool. And we then analyse that in the same way, being able to look at on demand at the different sales conversations that have happened. Mm-hmm. So we're always looking for insights about our competitors. And what we do is give a short recap to sales monthly. We'll say, here's what we've learned about the market. We document all of that, and then we look to see if that will change our positioning. So if we've got a great level of insights against a certain competitor, do we want to do a dedicated landing page for competitive intel, or maybe update some of our field-facing messaging as well? So it's a continuous process, not just looking at what that win-loss ratio is, but then also making sure that we have implemented that across the business as well.
So when you say, wait, is that your product marketing team that's getting together? And do you say monthly to do that?
It is, yes. So we do that monthly, and I think with the sales volume that we have, that's quite manageable. Mm-hmm. But then we are also, of course, you mentioned about being reactive to news in the market. It's quite a busy space in e-commerce. So we do have a SLA in place. If there's some industry news, we make sure that we have a readout with objection handling, a reminder on key resources. So we do that a little bit more ad hoc. But then there's a request process for anything new. Like if we see a new competitor, we make sure that we update that battle card the very next month.
How does sales react to the readout? Do they get engaged? Do they respond to it?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's challenging. I think, I don't know if anyone else has found, we call it Slack blindness. So we share a lot of Slack channels, you get a lot of thumbs up and this is great, thank you, but then it's actually about making it real in the field. So what we do is we'll have regular sessions as well. We call them landmine discussions. So we document what do customers say about us, what are our competitors saying in the market, and the best way to get the sales team involved, I find, is to get them involved and actually put them on the spot. So we'll ask the reps in advance if they're going to be in the session. We say, could you talk about that very challenging deal? I saw in Jiminy the fact that they had some really good talking points against us, and that makes it a bit more interactive because I think they really like to learn from their peers in the marketplace as well.
Yeah.
But where I think product marketing adds a lot of value is I always think of sales are the experts in their individual industries and in their sales cycles. They're concentrating on that quarter, but product marketing can be that layer above. And where we spot opportunities is maybe we're building a better picture of our ideal customer profile in a certain space, or we'll start to see the trends against competitors as well. So they're very good about bringing us insights, but it's putting it in context for the particular deals that they have.
I think it's so important to do win-loss. I mean, I don't know about yourself, but it sounds brilliant what you're doing with the team, but my organisations prior haven't had this level of sort of focus on win-loss. How many of you in the audience do regular win-loss interviews? Yeah, so it's probably 15%. Maybe a few that do, but didn't put their hand up, 20. It's not enough, really. I mean, it's such a hugely valuable set of insights. I mean, what you learn just from listening back to those customers that do sign up, because of course, if you are sales, right, if you win the deal, they're great. That's why we won. It's all about relationships. And if they lose the deal, it's because the product wasn't good enough or it was too expensive. That's all you're ever going to hear. So actually hearing stuff from customers, actually last week, you know, we kept being told by sales, there's a pricing issue, there's a pricing issue, there's a pricing issue. And actually even our product marketing team were looking at it saying, there's not, we've done the research, we're fine. But then we went back through the win-loss readout, and of course 20% of the losses from last year said there's a pricing issue, so now there's a new project.
Absolutely.
So it's actually, I mean, in that situation, it's backed up what sales said. But the point is the data's there, and it's not based on opinion anymore, which is why I was kind of curious to see what it was that sales said.
It was an interesting point that was raised earlier as well, that people don't spend enough time talking to customers in their job, and I think it's something that's come through in the Product Marketing Alliance research that they've done, is people say they don't get to speak to customers enough. So we're trying to supplement that by, we can be on any single Jiminy call that is useful for us to research. We can deep dive by persona or even by a keyword. So we've got some clever playlists set up so that we can deep dive into that. And it's all about the tagging and finding, like, was there a lot of objections on that call? The more the customer is speaking, the more interesting I know that call is going to be, because it's veering off our standard sales pitch. And then just about making that actionable for our teams as well. So.
Okay.
Great. I was just going to see if there's a couple of other questions, just in terms of any lessons learned. I think that was another key theme that we had today, was being candid about the lessons and things that we do differently. So I'll ask that question, and then maybe we can jump into some of the Q&A.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've talked a little bit today about team makeup and sort of personalities, building a team. And Eric mentioned StrengthsFinder, not StrengthsFinder, but I did StrengthsFinder, and I did that for the whole team. And what was really clear was that the researchers within the team were highly introverted, and they're very happy in their numbers, very happy in the research, very good at that, but not in doing that proactive bit that I've been so keen for the team to do. So that's really why I'm kind of selling internally for that business, because, you know, I'm the more extroverted one of the group when you look at the kind of those various strengths, and the connector as well. And so I think, so in terms of lessons learned, I don't think you can expect everyone to be able to do everything. You have to think about what that organizational makeup looks like. You know, you do need someone who's good at the projects, who's going to stay on top of the timing and what's needed and when it's needed. You need someone who's going to be able to carry favour with the ELT, and to be able to stand up in front of them and say, no, it's this, because I've done the work and I've researched this. And then there's kind of that person in the middle who's maybe a little bit more creative and that data storytelling piece. And I've only got 3, and I could probably go on and add a few different personalities. But that's the way that we've done it. So we've got that covered right now in the team. And the other thing that I will say is, I included the 2 researchers that I've got heavily in the recruitment process for the 3rd. And I was absolutely thrilled. About 6 months ago, during one of the lockdowns in India, they all went back because we couldn't get into the office. And they spent 2 weeks working together at one of their homes because they wanted to be together. You know, and I was absolutely thrilled with that. So for me, just kind of as a team lead, it was great that there was that kind of bonding within that organisation.
It's funny because when you look at the market intelligence piece, it is quite research heavy, and as you say, it suits that particular persona. But when you look at how actionable it is across all aspects of product marketing, how's that feeding into storytelling through your positioning exercises? How are you using it to shape go-to-market, which is more about that strategy and execution piece? So we've had a mix of personalities working on it, certainly from the more analytical people in the team to then some who are very sales enablement and relationship focused. And I think having everyone working on it has been really helpful for us to get to grips with it. And it means that, you know, it's not just one person's siloed job. I think I saw something the other day where somebody said, why is it the most junior person who works on competitive insight? Because it's actually one of the most interesting aspects where you can learn about the market. So.
Yeah, very good.
Great, so just with 8 minutes left, should we jump into some of the questions?
Sure.
So if you want to kick off with, the first one there is a good one, and I know a pain point for lots of product marketers. How do you source information on competitor pricing when it's not easily accessible on their site?
Well, there's various different ways. I mean, you know, the sales, for one, you know, sales do find out. So it's not just information that's available outside of the business, there's the information that's available inside of the business. We do have an influx of salespeople and pre-sales people and professional services people that come from competitors. So at the right time, you know, when people come in, we'll do the interviews, we'll capture the information, and sometimes you'll get those nuggets of information and sometimes you won't. You can get a steer on your pricing versus competitors when you use some of the industry analysts. If you're lucky enough to have seats with the likes of Gartner or Forrester, you can get kind of feedback on where you sit relative to those organizations. And sometimes it is just there. Sometimes the competitors will put it there and they'll be clear. So yeah, I think, you know, like customers, just ask. What about you? How do you do it within your business?
Yeah, so I will say that in our industry, the pricing that's on the website tends to be a starter. We hear people behaving very differently end of quarter. We'll get feedback about discounts and different incentives and things like that. So we try and take any piece of intel as a theory before we can validate it. But we do track that through any sales conversations. We document it, and I think having the prospect at least give you a scale if they don't want to give you an exact number, saying, were we twice as expensive, et cetera, that helps to position that. So.
And I think, you know, the other place, of course, is that 150 hours of win-loss analysis. You know, if someone's just chosen a different organization, they'll tell you if you're more expensive. They'll be clear and they'll tell you the numbers and they'll give you the pricing and say, look, you know, you wanted to charge us this, but Infor or whoever or Sage came in at 20% lower. So they'll be clear.
So there's lots of anonymous questions, but I think they're very typical of the challenges that come up in market intelligence. You've talked about the fact that you do have a request process and very clear with sales about what you're working on, but how do you deal with those ad hoc reactive requests, particularly for new competitors?
So it's a great question. There's sort of two flows to the work. We were highly transactional, highly reactive, so that wouldn't have been a problem in the past. Now we have a block of work and a block of time set aside for each quarter for proactive delivery of information. So I asked the guys to track for every project, how long do you think it's going to take you, so that we're working out what the workload is, but there is time set aside to respond to those inquiries. Then it comes down to what you've got available. So what they have a set of links that they can go and find information quickly to put together an initial slide or two. So if one of the sales team comes in and says, look, what have you got on competitor, this new emerging competitor, and we haven't looked, they'll go to, I guess they'll go to the likes of Google, might go to Alpha Sites, they might go to IBIS, and they'll see what they can find first, see what reports that they're on. And they'll probably send that and then say, here's an initial analysis, now I'm going to do some further research, and then they'll drill down. But the other way is, using a product like Clue, that I know got mentioned in one of the recent reports, the CI report from PMA, that's doing that tracking for you. So if you're not, if you don't have the luxury of a team of 3 dedicated to CI, you can have the technology doing the tracking. It organises the information for you. So at the point at which you need to dip in, it's already there, or it's already there to 90%.
I think it's so important to prioritise. One of the questions there is about a new competitor, and I think that's where product marketing can add a lot of value, is assessing, is this an emerging threat, something that will cause you more business pain and you should prioritise? Or is it just maybe somebody has mentioned a very different supplier who doesn't actually fit your required capabilities, and somebody who's maybe not going to be a direct category competitor as well. So,
well, the other challenge is it's the indirect competitors, because you don't, indirect competitors could be many and varied. So, we had a challenge within our retail business where we know all of the point of sale suppliers out there, but they're not the ones eating our lunch. It's Shopify, and it's the online, it's the digital platforms, because the shops that we're selling to in the US they're not buying the EPOS systems anymore. They're just going straight to the online platforms and using that within the store. So, and those we weren't tracking.
Yeah, absolutely. What was it, the old expression, the competitor for gin and tonic is actually white wine.
Yeah.
So, and sorry, must be nearly time for drinks, and that's why that comes into my head.
It's in your head.
So just one of the questions that's been voted up there about incentives for win-loss interviews. What's worked for you, seeing as that program is up and running with your third-party provider?
So we don't do it. You can do it. You can offer it. We have talked about it. But I think, I took some advice early in my career, very early, and if you make enough calls, not everyone will speak to you, and that's okay, but there will be a number of organisations that will, and they'll be happy to speak. And if you're offering them, a £50 or £25 coffee voucher, is it really going to make a difference to what it is that they're saying? So I think it's probably a lot to administer. There's there's a commitment there that you're going to do something. You might get them talking, and what you might get back may not be what you need. Actually, the ones that really want to talk and share, they don't need the incentive. So I don't think it's necessary in our business, at least.
Great. And just to end on a strategy-based one, then, what are your favourite frameworks for presenting and sharing competitive intelligence to stakeholders? That's a
really hard question to finish on. So, obviously we'll use a SWOT analysis quite a lot. Actually, a lot of the work gets done for us in terms of some of the analyst reports, where we can look at that ability to execute versus strategic vision. We might look at the bubble pictures, where you can see the amount of revenue growth over the year versus the size of the organisation. So we'll show that. There's many, and we tend to vary. And to be honest, I'm not really sure we've found the right one yet. So we're still looking for that. And that comes back to what I was saying about better storytelling. Yeah. We've got the data, but we need to get better at telling the stories.
I would just add to that, definitely the landmines piece, just in terms of, what are your competitors saying about you in sales cycles, and what can you say to make it, more about you, and just in terms of knowing when you will win and when you're potentially not going to be successful, because that's sales time is precious as well, and we want to make sure that they focus on the highest impact opportunities.
Thank you.
So do we have time for one more? Yep. So Chloe had a good question there about examples of business value or outcomes and decisions that have been based on CMI research. So
win-loss ratios, that's it. That's all about win-loss, right? So we're tracking our win-loss ratios constantly across the business, and my team know that they will be measured on that, and their goals will be based on that next year, and they're uncomfortable about that, right? Because they don't feel like it's within their control, because they're not selling and they're not in front of the customer. But if they do a great job, we will win more deals. So that's it. And at the end of the day, the number of deals that you win and the number of times you beat the specific competitors that you're up against.
Absolutely, about that business impact. So I think we're about to wrap up. So thank you, Andy, for your time today.
Good. Thanks, Louise.
All right, great. Thank you, Andy, Reid, and Louise. Dan, thank you very, very much. I think we mentioned earlier today that research and insights is a product marketer's superpower, so it's great to finish on a super-powered discussion from both of you. So thank you very much, and we'll wrap up in a moment. All right, thank you. Right, well, it's time for very, very quick, and I promise quick closing comments. Remember, 9 o'clock this morning, I promised you that we would update this slide. It's been 2 years, and we did it. Right, we managed to conclude a face-to-face product marketing summit in London with full attendance, and there's the evidence. So I just want to say a huge thanks from the Product Marketing Alliance and all the organizations involved and all the organizations represented in the room today, and on behalf of all the speakers that have dedicated their time and energy to make this a success. So I want to say a huge thanks. We've got to the next slide. I promised that I wouldn't show this again today, and it doesn't look like I'm going to either. There you go. IT. Just a reminder, that code is valid until the end of December. It's 15% off the courses. PMMLDN15 is exclusive code for you. Bit of a early Christmas present and a Happy New Year. Just a few closing remarks, I mean literally bullet points before I let you go to what is a free bar for the next 2 hours, right? Be careful, right? Think about the topics that we covered this morning. Remember that top box in the State of Product Marketing report that I referred to, of all the things that were really, really super important in terms of roles and responsibilities for product marketers. Think about what you then heard over the next number of hours. I've even lost count. We well and truly covered positioning today, I think, from multiple speakers. How to think about go-to-market planning. The research and the voice of the customer has showed up multiple times today from our speakers. Features versus outcomes has been a reoccurring theme as well in terms of what customers actually truly only care about. And if you didn't know it already, today was the full launch and birth of the RACI matrix chart for most of you. Responsible, accountable, consulted, and informed. You're listening. Great. Fantastic. All right. So it's my turn to let you go, let you off. We're all done. Thank you very much. That's the official conclusion of all the speakers and the presentations. It's time for alcohol. Through that door, off you go. All right. Thank you.
If you're on the lookout for exclusive product marketing content that'll change the game, well, you've come to the right place. Because product marketers signed up to the PMA plan are continuing to reap the benefits of our membership service, home to the most comprehensive, diverse materials on the market. So what do we have up our sleeves? Well, for starters, we give our members access to exclusive articles every single week, featuring insights on trending topics and hot debates. It's the perfect way to keep up to speed and improve your practice. As a PMA member, you'll also be able to enjoy a host of vetted templates and frameworks designed to help you save time, streamline your internal processes, and consistently hit high standards. Well, if you think that's everything, we're barely getting started. In signing up for a Product Marketing Alliance membership, you'll not only get a 10% discount on every future summit, but also unlock every single minute from every single one of our previous events. A staggering 250 hours of video content, whenever and wherever you want to tune in. Just log in, press play, and get instant access to presentations from the very best practitioners in the industry. Exclusivity is the name of the game for our members, with VIP events, exclusive Q&A sessions, and gated networks on the agenda for product marketers who've taken the plunge and treated themselves to a PMA membership experience. Sign up so you can grab a slice of the action. And the fun and games don't stop there. Sign up for a membership and you'll get access to game-changing support from our product marketing mentors and well over 250 slide decks created by our expert in-house team. You'll also gain access to product marketing learning paths, where you can continue your professional development with weekly learning programs covering key topics such as sales enablement, positioning, go-to-market, and a whole lot more. The Hub is exclusive to members and includes a blend of topic-specific videos, guides, and templates designed to help you improve your product marketing credentials in 6 to 8 weeks. And last but by no means least, you'll also unlock our selection of product marketing toolkits, with each containing everything you need to prepare for your next big project and knock it out of the park. Each toolkit includes presentations, templates, and guides, and will arm you with essential insights to hit the ground running. Whether you're planning a product launch, repositioning your product, or re-evaluating your personas, we've got you covered. We've said it before, but we'll say it again. You'll be very hard-pressed to find anything better. Tempted? Well, head to productmarketingalliance.com to access all the content, tools, tips, and templates you need to pave your product's path.